I'm not the vindicator or the victimizer or the vaporizer or the vibrator. I'm the violator. I'm also Liam, and he's Rob, and for the fourth and final part of our podcast season of dodgy 90s superhero movies, we take a look back at 1997's Spawn. Without question, the most quintessentially 90s of the movies that we've covered, Spawn, while not completely without merit, does feel every inch the late 90s superhero flick. Does it hold up, though? Did it ever hold up? And Rob, more importantly, were you able to get over those truly shocking CGI scenes in hell? I mean, I remember those being bad, but I genuinely think they might be the worst example of CGI that I've seen in a major motion picture in my life. And sorry, I'll get to this in a second. Let's get your thoughts first.
Yeah, the CGI is awful. I remember the CGI being ropey for the hell sequences, as you said.
So
But
bad.
as we watch this film now, the CGI is just dated all over this film. It's this film is an argument for practical effects. Now, there's a film, and you've never heard of this film. I think I've only ever shown it to one person, Dave, but there's a film called Faust, For the Love of the Damned. And there's a character in it that has like a cape like Spawn, and he's just a weird demon style hero. And he looks fantastic. And it just gives such an argument for practical effects. Like, I do like the suit. I enjoy the Spawn suit. I think fucking Michael Jai White looks great in the Spawn role. And like I said, the suit, I think it looks fantastic. But as soon as the CGI comes into play, it's terrible. Let's not beat around the bush. It's terrible. And you said quintessentially 90s. No more so than when the credits came on. I could have sworn for a start I was listening to Blade credits. I could have closed my eyes and thought I was listening to Blade, the start of the film. And I know this came out before Blade, so maybe it's the other way around. Maybe they stole it from Spawn. But fuck me, those credits, they literally looked they were made on PowerPoint.
Yeah, they're pretty rough, and the credits immediately plonk you right into the late 90s. The style is, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
incredibly busy. And the truth is, even the voiceover by Cogliostro, I think his name is, even his voiceover it's so rushed. He just kind of he says everything without saying anything at all. Sorry,
Yeah.
am I quoting fucking Boyzone there? That sounds like I was quoting Boyzone by accident.
It's no James Earl Jones from last week, is it? From
It
Judge
was
Dredd.
not. It was like, one, he's not James Earl Jones. In fairness, very few people are James Earl Jones when you're talking about the impact of somebody's voice. But just the actual dialogue, and the dialogue is a problem throughout this entire movie. But straight away, when you're getting that voiceover and he's trying to explain the world, and you come away from it and you're just like, I'm still none the wiser as to what's going on. And it's also loud and in your face. And I know when you mentioned the CG is very dodgy. I actually think some of the CG is aged okay-ish. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I think the stuff with the Violator is actually aged pretty decent. And the reason I'm probably saying that, because it hasn't aged fantastically, is because I'm comparing it to the hell sequences. And I
Okay.
just don't know how the hell sequences in particular even exist. So
Well, the
I had
problem.
to look it up because ILM created the Vindicator stuff in particular.
Yeah.
So when the clown transforms into the Vindicator and he has a fight with Spawn, it is exactly what you said. It's a combination of practical effects and CG. And I think for the most part, it helps that it's shot at night, as these things tend to. For the most part, it looks okay when you kind of get into that mindset, well, I'm watching a film from 1997. But any scene in hell, I was just like, I can't fucking believe it's that. I cannot believe how bad that is.
So I think that's the problem, though, isn't it? When you have the CG, and yes, it's dated. When you have the CG anywhere in the real world, quote unquote,
Mhm.
real world, it's the real world.
Yeah.
So you've got it against that backdrop. But
Yes.
hell,
Yeah.
pure CG, 100%
Yeah.
CG. From the Malbosia, who, like, if he
Is
was
that
the devil,
explained? Sorry, yeah, I just thought, is that just the devil? And I read up after, he's Malbosia. I'm like, I don't think did anyone even say Malbosia? I
yeah,
just kind of
the
assumed it was the
voiceover,
devil.
the
Oh,
voiceover,
there we go. There
yeah.
we go.
So he says the devil Malbosia. You look at Malbosia, he's not scary. Like, if that's the guy
No.
who's meant to give me a million years of torment, I'll be all right with it. The guy looks like a fucking pansy. And then Spawn apparently isn't special because
Mhm.
there's 100 of us, or sorry, 1 million other Spawns that look exactly like him, but they don't have his killing experience. Like very odd. But that
Yeah.
whole thing where they're like hell to them is basically just a bunch of people on floating rocks and then
Mhm.
a giant horned goat demon thing just standing in fire.
Well, it's funny, like you say that, and you think, well, what's the closest to their interpretation of hell on screen? And everything you just said then, you could use to describe the hell sequence in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. It's got the
Yeah,
big goats,
yeah,
demon
yeah.
like hell version. There's a lot of rocks. There's less kind of spawn folks just standing around, but there are
That
just
looks
a lot of rocks.
fantastic compared to this.
Yeah, because it's all physical
Oh,
effects rather
yeah,
than
yeah.
CGI. But still, I was like, there's got to be a reason why there is such a big disparity between the special effects, which are below average for most of the film, and then genuinely beyond the pale bad. Because if you probably remember them as being bad if you haven't seen this film in like 20 years, I guarantee they are so much worse than you remember. But I looked into it, as I said, it was ILM who did the majority of the CG shots, and the CG accounts for most of this movie's budget. It was supposed to initially be 20, it went up to 40, 45 million, and they said 30% was on CG. I think that all went into the scenes with the Violator fight and Spawn.
Yeah.
Because to bring down the budget, they got John Grauer's Santa Barbara studio to animate the hell sequences, and that's where I think it looks like it's literally from a different movie, both aesthetically and in terms, very much in terms of quality. Now, I was trying to think, are there any movies which have got worse CG, or, as is the case in this movie, I think in particular, examples of CG which are really like individual moments of terrible CG, if you know what I mean. Like I would say for the most part, this film looks fine, and then we've just got these moments. So if you look at like I remember The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl, that's from 2005, not that long ago in the grand scheme of things. It just looks horrendous. The Robert Rodriguez movies. There's the Justice League, which mostly looked okay, but then you had to look at Henry Cavill's lip, and you're like, what the fuck happened, guys?
Yeah.
Superman's face is fucked. Mortal Kombat Annihilation looked terrible. The Mummy Returns, most specifically the scene with The Rock turning into a scorpion, it was just like, wait, the rest of the film looks fine, and now we've got this. Is Die Another Day's famous surfing sequence. I'm not sure if you remember that.
Looks like a
It's
PlayStation 1 level.
it's
Yeah,
beyond
yeah,
bad. The Lawnmower Man, but we'll give that a bit of a break because it was 1992.
yeah.
There's Cats, which we can put to a certain extent down to design choices above all else. The Flash, which largely looked okay until except for the bits with the baby and obviously the time bullshit. And my favorite of all is Escape from LA in terms of just having bad CG.
Are you
Now,
going to go on about the surfing scene?
I was going to go
Yeah.
about that, but that was always when we've talked about bad special effects on this podcast. I've always used Escape LA as almost the kind of like the kind of crown bearer. Is that a term? I'm not sure. You
Yeah.
know what I'm getting at. Of like the finest example of terrible CGI. It doesn't even compare to this. The stuff in Hell in this film is so much worse.
So I have three as well in regards to ropey CG.
Mhm.
From the same year, I had Anaconda. Like the giant snake looks like
Yeah,
a rubber hose. His movements is really stiff, and like that digital sheen just makes it cartoonish.
yeah,
Like
it's not
that
great.
whole thing. No, you're not gonna like this one, but I Am Legend from 2007. Now the infected creatures were going to be practical, but then
Yeah,
they ended up just like it was that uncanny valley CGI. It just felt out of place for
that's
what should be a grounded film. They were
yeah,
just
and
well out of
that
place.
one, Joe, that's one of my biggest bugbears, that film in particular, because I know you're not the biggest Will Smith fan, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
But that was, I thought, a really well-made film. The first half in particular looks fantastic. Everyone thinks like The Last of Us. They take
yeah.
so much from I Am Legend. That film in particular, the opening sequences in New York, all look unbelievable. And the zombies are so close to human. There was just no need. Like I get it for wide shots because they do, kind of like what World War Z, World War Z, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
depending on which side of the Atlantic you're on. You have the scenes when all the zombies run on top of each other. Sure, wide shots, use CG. But up close, like you said, use the perfect term there, uncanny valley. And it just like how much did that add to the budget and how unnecessary was it? Because it was an otherwise glorious looking film, which was borderline ruined by a terrible choice to add CG for those
Yeah.
characters.
And my last one that I wrote down was Dungeons and Dragons from 2000. I mean,
Oh, that's a
the,
good
dra-
shout. That's
the
a good
dragons and
shout.
the dragons and the magical effects were rendered awfully. But it's a fantasy film. They forgot to budget for the fantasy. Like
They
the whole
did.
fantasy thing, it was like you said, the dragons looked awful and the whole magic thing and everything.
That's
Oh,
probably a better example than this of a movie that looks terrible from start to finish. You know, in that same
yeah.
way, like Lava Boy versus Sharko and stuff. Like I said, this film looks so for most of it. It has terrible bits. If you haven't seen it before, it's worth watching a few clips from Dungeons and Dragons, which is a fantastic show because that film looked like ass when it was released in the mid 2000s.
I will hold my hand up. I can lend you the DVD.
Fantastic, fantastic. I mean, maybe one day we'll do like a car crash season and Dungeons and it'll be fun because Dungeons and Dragons will probably just be fun to talk about, despite the fact that the
Dude,
film is
most of those
really bad.
films, most of those films that we pick, like off the top of my head, right, we could pick four films, and I probably have them on DVD if we're gonna go car crash.
There is a good
Yeah,
shot.
yeah,
The last thing I'll say about the special effects, the weirdest thing about this movie looking so bad at times is that the director was the visual effects artist on
yeah.
some of the greatest and best looking movies of all time. So Mark A.Z. Dippy, this was his this is his directorial debut. And he was a special effects, in different roles, whether it be supervisor, blah, 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 on Jurassic Park, The Abyss, and Terminator 2. I would argue that they are three of the finest achievements when it comes to visual effects in cinema history. I don't think that's an exaggeration. Three films which still look fantastic to this day. Spawn does not look fantastic to this day, and it's a strange one that they chosen for this film. But yeah, this movie at its best looks like a music video. And like you said, right from the credits, it's borderline obnoxious, the aesthetic
Yes.
style, for lack of a better term.
The worst thing over the CGI for this film is DB Sweeney's goatee.
Oh, it's rough. It's
It
Terry's
is,
goatee, yeah.
yeah, Terry's goatee
Terry,
is
who might actually be the true villain of this piece. I mean, dude, you do not go, pinning the tail on your dead best friend's wife. You just don't do it, dude. It's
no,
outrageous.
and, like straight away as well, because obviously she's 5 and she the kid, so she's definitely Al Simmons' daughter,
100%. Well,
and
she's
he's just
black for
there.
a start, yeah.
Well, yeah, but so's the mum. You can have a
Yeah, there's not enough milk in that chocolate, though. That's definitely Al Simmons' kid. He knows what he's up to. Dirty
yeah.
bastard, Terry. Unbelievable.
And just everything with him as well. Just everything with Terry was just like he's pretending he's naive,
Not
and
having
then
it.
yeah, I'm not having it either. Like everything with Win in the ballroom and that, and then straight away he's like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna send this to my reporter friend. Where the fuck did that come from all of a sudden?
I do everything with Terry, and it's the issue, like, beyond the visuals, which obviously we've gone into in great detail now. This
Yeah,
film has a lot of other issues. Make no mistake. One of them is Terry, and you could say that of nearly every character because everything in this movie is underbaked. The pacing is mental. The narrative is mental. The script is just rough. Like you say, like Terry's supposed to be an important character in this film, in the same way that Wanda is supposed to be.
yeah,
Beyond Al Simmons, and make no mistake, Michael J. White goes for it with his screaming Wanda into the rain sequences. I mean, Jesus Christ, there's some
yeah,
big acting in this film. It's rough from start to finish, and like you think it's going to be, once you get past the credits, and you're like, all right, it's 1997, whatever it is, what it is. Suddenly, you realize you weren't having a fever dream back in 1997. Martin Sheen is in this movie. You're like,
yeah,
well, this is going to be good, and he's so clownishly evil, no pun intended there, because you have the opening sequence with him and John Leguizamo, and those are the best bits of the film, the stuff with Martin Sheen, in particular John Leguizamo. And you're just like, to go back to Terry, how does Terry in any way try and explain the fact that I didn't know he was evil? You go into his office, he has a picture of a nuclear explosion on his wall, just a hint. He has
he's got a scorpion ashtray.
a scorpion. That is the most evil thing I've ever seen.
Yes.
A scorpion ashtray is fucking insane. He's got, what's the name of the woman who works for him?
Oh, was it Crystal? It wasn't Crystal, was it?
Crystal. It could have been Crystal. Jesus Christ.
Oh,
Jessica.
Priest.
Jessica.
So Priest. So
Jessica
the reason
Priest.
Jessica Priest. So sorry, I'm gonna go a bit geeky here.
Go
So the
for it.
reason why she is in it, because obviously she's the one that killed Simmons. But in the comics, it wasn't Priest. It was a character called Chapel. But they
Okay.
didn't have the rights to Chapel. So what comes with Chapel? Priest.
Jessica Priest.
Yeah.
That doesn't explain why she's dressed like Baroness from G.I. Joe, though. Like, it just doesn't explain that.
Oh, it kind of.
Okay.
So she was meant to come back.
Mhm.
After she gets killed, so they're already hinting, yeah, Baroness from GI, they're already hinting at, like, with the armor and stuff that she's wearing. She was actually meant to come back for a final showdown with Spawn in this film.
Oh, I see.
They were going to give her like cybernetic,
Mhm.
but then they deemed it a bit too expensive, so they just left her dead.
I thought it was odd because they built her up so much at the
Yes,
start. You know, she
yes.
had all the outfits and stuff, and then all of a sudden, the first action scene in the movie, she just gets unceremoniously
And
killed.
they covered her face and everything. And I think they decided halfway through filming, it's like, oh no, we won't uncover her face from the gurney. We'll just leave her
Well,
dead. It's fine.
she ends up dying on like one of the lamest lines of all time. So he's just about to kill Jessica, and she's got her like dead to rights, so to speak. And she says, "You don't have the guts." And Spawn's witty response is, "You're right." And then he shoots her.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, am I missing something? Is there a joke in there? Fucking terrible writing. And yeah, I mean, everything about that sequence suggests that she's going to come back. It totally does. And obviously, as you say there, the
Yeah.
plan was that Jessica was going to come back later, but no, she's abandoned. And it's strange because, like I said, at the start of the film, it feels like she's going to be she's going to play an important role in the movie. Usually, her kind of character is introduced to give the secondary hero someone to fight. It's usually for like a female lead. Like you think
Yeah.
it'd be like Wanda would end up fighting her or something
Or
ridiculous. Like
Cogliestro, whatever his name is. Yeah.
Cogliostro, yeah. Who's yeah, another issue with this film. I mean, he's so outrageously unsubtle with his ridiculous hat. He glows green all the time. He just for no reason. He's just like, just make sure this arm sword still works. Check. It's
Yeah.
all right.
How many times did they, and I know I use this a lot, but how many times did they give us Chekhov's arm sword? Like,
So yeah, but
yeah,
that's the thing. You think it's Chekhov's arm sword because you're like, oh well, this is going to be fucking awesome. He's going to do some dope ass arm shit later in the film. As soon as he gets into that terrible action sequence at the end of the film in hell, truly terrible, his arm sword immediately gets broken off.
yeah.
Immediately. I'm just like, well,
The
what
other
the fuck
thing,
was the point of that?
the other thing as well, he's determined that he's a hellspawn. He's a previous
Mhm.
spawn who generals like lead the army, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. It's not science that creates spawn or anything like that. It's not technology. It's
Mhm.
magic.
Yeah.
So does magic improve with time? Because
Mhm.
when you look at his chainmail helmet or hood that he
Mhm.
puts on compared to Spawn's full-on full frontal face mask that comes
Yeah.
on by magic, how has that changed over the years? How have they gone, oh, you know what, this
It was
was
just being kitted out at the time, hasn't
yeah,
he? We're going back, 700, 800 years ago, and they're just like, wait, do I get like a new outfit? It's like, nah, dude, sadly, you're stuck with it. It's one and done. So yeah, you just got that weird arm sword, but he's got like all the chains and stuff. It's like, yeah, that's a 2000 thing. That's late 90s, early 2000s. New metal's on the way. That's just the vibe. You're
yeah.
more of a kind of 1432 kind of guy. So yeah, sadly, it's going to be chainmail and
But
easily broken arm sword for the rest of eternity.
he can turn around and go, what about the army of Hellspawn? They all look like him. Oh no, 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 that's fine.
Don't worry about that.
We don't have one more to give you. We've used them all. We don't have one more to give you. So you're stuck with
Yeah,
yeah,
and to be honest, mate, like I know it seems rough now, 1997, this all seems pretty cool, but his look is going to go the same way as tribal tattoos. It seems like a great idea now, but in 2025, this is all going to look a little bit ropey. So if anything, your look's going to age better. You just got to run out the next 20, 25 years and you'll be golden again. It'll be all good. And to be honest, that's kind of true because the Spawn suit, it looks okay. It does look. The problem is when he has the cape on, and obviously they just, as you mentioned earlier, they decide to go full CGI. And whatever you think about the CGI itself, the cape does look cool and gives the
yeah,
character that gothic vibe. Like there was a similar thing in Judge Dredd when we did last week, the Batman scene where they kind of the camera pans up and they just have the character looking badass. There's a sequence where Spawn is standing on the church and the cape is flowing. He's not doing anything. He's just standing there looking badass. And it has this gothic cool to it, which the rest
yeah,
of the film simply doesn't have. Because when he doesn't have the cape, you know what he looks like, don't you? He looks like Guyver. He looks like fucking Guyver.
yeah, yeah. No, I'll give you that. When he doesn't have the cape, he just looks like a dude that's put a suit on.
Yeah,
No
he totally
powers or
does.
anything like that. And the cape again, and I'm gonna because I've read like a lot of Spawn comics. It was one of my favorite comics back in the day. The cape it gives you a lot of like his powers and things like that. It's almost a living being itself.
Yeah.
The cape.
I
What
love
I
the
love is
aesthetic in the comics. I totally do.
yeah,
And so you just said, just while I've got you on the subject, because you said you're a big fan of comics. Is this the last new superhero character to feel like a big deal? Because this was the most successful independent comic book of all time. And I know, like, I've always like dipped a toe into comic books. I used to be more into them a little bit when I was younger, but you're more of a comic book guy. Has there been a genuine breakout comic book character to this extent? Because we're going back to what, like 92 when he came out, or whatever it was.
yeah.
I remember Spawn coming out. I remember it being a big deal. I can't think of another quote unquote new comic book character cutting through. Certainly not independent since.
Not off the top of my head. No, you're right.
So I put
And
you in the
after,
spot there, but
no,
I
no, no, no,
just
no, no. But you are correct in that because obviously this came out, then this film came out, but the same year, the Emmy award-winning TV show came out
yeah,
with
yeah.
Keith David. But when this came out in
But even
'92,
the
yeah, it
comic
was
book seems to cut through. I feel like into popular culture back in like the mid 90s, even before the movies, people were just aware of Spawn. It became this thing. Like
yeah. I
certainly
think it was because
even if you didn't read the comics, people were aware of the aesthetic.
yeah, I think it was because he wasn't bright or flashy
Yeah, yeah,
or
totally.
anything. It was dark and things
Mhm,
like that. I want to go back to Cogliostro because I want to ask, and I know I'm jumping into sequels a bit here,
mhm, mhm.
and I know there were meant to be sequels.
Yes.
There was meant to be two, and I wonder because Cogliostro kind of explained who he was,
Mhm,
but I do wonder if they were ever, if he ever came back, would they go down the route of his comic counterpart? Because he does appear as a homeless guy who has a slither of power. He's kept that slither of power to keep
mhm,
himself alive for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands, like for a long time. But he's actually Cain, as in
mhm.
the first murderer, Cain and Abel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool.
and he's helping Spawn for no other reason than to become the new ruler of hell.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
that's
he's
well,
only helping Spawn to kill Malbolgia to
mhm,
become
mhm,
the new ruler. None of that is hinted at, or none of that is given into the comic, into the book, the film. So I'm just, and this is coming from my comic geeky side of it. I
mhm,
just
mhm.
wonder, would they have gone down that route of him, or would they have just left him as the wise old man?
Well, it would have been interesting because, right, it feels like they were almost building that up because there was one line where he's like, he tells Spawn literally like three things about himself. And he's like, that's all you need to know right now. But then I was like, well, what else is there? Like, it felt like he told me everything. Like, I don't need to know anything else. And then, of course, you go the rest of the movie and you don't learn anything else of note about him. So it's just like, what was that all building up to? And it sounds like it's building up to exactly what you're talking about there in
Yeah.
terms of a potential sequel. So yeah, they're clearly because I didn't know all that stuff about Cogliostro, and I was just like, wait, what's the other stuff? It feels like you just told him all the fucking things. Although the one thing he doesn't really tell him until far too late in the movie is how to be Spawn. Like we mentioned earlier
Thank
about the
you.
pacing of this film.
Yeah.
The training sequence is 17 minutes into a 95-minute movie.
Yes,
But
there's
bizarre.
20 minutes left on this film, including credits.
Mhm.
And then he teaches him after he's had a big battle sequence, by the way,
Yep.
with the
Yep.
cops and everything else, and he's
Mhm.
used his cape to create a wall to hide. Great.
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. He's used his arms to become suction cups. All right, fine. But then
Terrible.
he's also used the armor to create chains
Mhm,
to
mhm.
stop himself from falling from the buildings. But when Cogliostro tells him to use the chain, apparently he becomes a bit limp-dicked, and that's meant to be a funny thing.
Well, he does say I think in the sequence to defend the film slightly, he says, "Oh, you have been using your powers, but been using them on instinct so far." So
Yeah,
he's
okay.
like he's been forced to. And in fact, it's like you said that bit in the building when he makes himself invisible. That's kind of cool. And then all clumsy Spawn like knocks a bit of wall off. It's like, well, that was all a
Yeah,
bit pointless. But it's just strange that it comes so late in the movie, and
yeah,
it maybe again it was just an excuse to keep the budget down because they're like, listen, if we train him to use all his powers, he's going to have to use them on screen, and that's going to be VFX shots, and that's going to cost a lot of money, sadly.
yeah. No,
And it's like, well, why wouldn't he have the cape? But then it's like, it leads back into the whole pacing thing. It's like he has that training 17 minutes into the movie. It immediately then cuts into a chase sequence where Spawn is on a bike and the clown is in like what, a necro like truck? Sure, why not? And I was just like, well, why is he in a truck? He's only in a
yeah.
truck because Spawn's on a bike. And they're implying that he's going to see Wanda. I was like, no, no, no. He said, I'm going to see Wanda. Then you had a whole training sequence. How has he not made it to Wanda's? What the fuck is happening here?
Can we agree? Speaking of the clown as well, can we agree that John Leguizamo is the best thing in this film. But
100%.
caveat, there is still a bit too much of him acting like as the clown. Like I think he's the best thing in this film.
I agree. I
But
think most people would, in
my
fairness.
God, by the end of it, I'm all done with the clown, the voice, the acting, everything. Like I'm a bit done with it by the end. And I'm thinking, oh, I could have done with a little less of this.
Yeah, but a little less means more of everything else. So I totally know what you mean, but I would have probably happily taken a bit more John Leguizamo. He is swinging for the fences. At one point, I was pretty sure there is a direct reference to what's the film I said I used to like when I was a kid, but I hate now? The Pest. He does a na 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 na, and I'm pretty sure that is a direct reference to the opening of The Pest when he's dancing in the shower. And another direct reference.
That's the same year, by the way.
Yeah, well, there you go. It might well be the same thing then. So, or maybe that was just his shtick at
Is
the
it the
time.
same year? Yeah, 97. It's the same
Oh,
year.
there we go. Well, there's another one. If that is a direct reference, it's almost as strange as the daughter comes up to all burnt up, spawn and stuff, and says, "Do you want some candy?" I'm like, dude, that
Yeah.
has to be a reference to Predator 2. It fucking has to be, right? I mean,
Want
it's
some
either that or
candy?
fucking voodoo magic, man. But I'm like, I just don't know how you're going to get the daughter to say that, in fairness. But yes, to bring it back to your point, that John Leguizamo is a bit much, but he is also, without question, the best thing in this film. We mentioned the fact that Martin Sheen is, I mean, let's be clear, he's slumming it in this film. He's swinging for the fences. Supposedly, he always wanted to be in a superhero movie.
Yeah, and that's why he chose to do this. Yeah.
He got the opportunity. I mean, he ended up in another superhero film, a much better one. He was in the Amazing Spider-Man as
Yeah, he's Uncle Ben.
Whatever you might say about the Amazing Spider-Man films, they're wonderfully cast, if nothing else.
Yeah.
He also has dodgy facial hair, but it was the late 90s. It was the era of dodgy facial hair. It's not quite Pacino and Jack and Jill, or Jack Nicholson in Man in Trouble, or Michael Caine in Jaws: The Revenge. But this is definitely an example of an elite actor slumming it. He's going for it. He looks like he's having a good time.
Dude, he is 30 seconds away from going mwah ha ha. I'm sorry.
He is. But I mean, fuck, what would you expect if like the prop guys come in and go, here's your fucking ashtray full of scorpions and your pictures of nuclear wars, and this is your, assistants dressed in all leather, then why not fucking go for it? But there's weird stuff with his character. I'm not sure if you noticed, right? Sorry, I'm jumping to the end of the film here.
Yeah.
So when he goes to Wanda's house and, him and the clown are making the plan and all that jazz, one, he's got the strangest gun I've ever seen in my life.
Thank you. Like I thought her guns were weird, Priest's
Nope.
guns, when she was shooting, because hers were weird. And she had a fucking, all of her guns were weird. She had a gun at the beginning that shot flammable liquid. Like, wouldn't that explode on you? But okay, fine.
Seems very dangerous. Seems very
he's
dangerous.
Got this weird gun. It looked even weirder in fucking Terry's hand, by the way. But he's got this weird gun where, and I'm sorry to have overtaken this. I got really excited when you mentioned his gun, where the grip is in the middle of the gun.
It's aesthetically bonkers. And I'm not sure if you noticed, he had something really fucking weird on his left hand as well. It was half covered up by his coat, but he has this, it almost looks like a burn thing or something.
Yeah.
I was just like, what the hell is that? I was like, well, they must explain it. No, they don't explain it. There's some strange, but like you said, like even going back to earlier in the film, they're so busy being evil that nothing that they do really makes sense. It's like when they kill, they do kill Al Simmons. They burn him alive and he becomes Spawn. They're doing it at a plant which is filled, as far as I can tell, with they reference it quite directly.
Heat 16.
With all this kind of horrible stuff in there. They give themselves exactly 0 seconds to escape. They shoot him like he's on fire. Everything blows up. They're still in the room unless they fucking sprinted. Simmons
did it in Japan. He had that, like he comes in, he kills, unceremoniously kills those guys in the air traffic control tower. Okay. Has enough time then. Like he's had to lumber this fucking remote control rocket thing that splits into 4 to the top of the control tower, set it up, kills him, sets it to self-destruct for 10 seconds. He has to get from the top of that to the bottom, because when they show her explode, the whole fucking thing explodes, not just the top.
The whole thing.
I'm sorry, he should have already been in hell at that point. He should be leading Hell's Army at this point. There's no way he's getting out in 10 fucking seconds.
Well, he's obviously learned from Win, because like you said, it's not just explosions. We're talking about biohazard infused explosions. And he's just like, we'll be fine. I don't think you're going to be fine at all. It's absolutely ridiculous. But then everything is ridiculous. It's like, so after they kill, it is Al Simmons, isn't it? I'm not making that up.
Yeah,
And he
Simmons.
becomes Spawn. So he's just been burnt alive in North Korea. Yeah. North
Yeah.
Korea. He wakes up in a church covered in burns head to toe. He just shakes that shit off. He just shakes the fuck off. The first, wait, do you want to have a talk about this? Like, I've got a home to go to. It's like, well, do you not have any more questions as to, I don't know, what the fuck's going on? Or, I don't know, my wife might be quite alarmed by my appearance right now. But no, he just fucking rolls with it. And it's
does he see he's burnt, though? Does he see he's burnt?
Yeah.
Okay, because I couldn't remember that. 5 years have gone. We haven't said that, but we know that.
And he's just like, well, never mind. On I go with my day, apparently.
We know 5 years have gone, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. The way you said that, then I didn't know if you knew there was a 5 year gap. But
yeah, I know, but
okay, well, he doesn't apparently. He learns it when he finally sees the daughter.
That's what I mean. He brushes. It's a whole movie of people brushing off amazing things. It's like Terry and Wanda at the end of the film when Win comes to the house. And he's got the gun and all that, and he's making his plan. And then the clown shows up, or the violator, whatever you want to call him. They do a sequence when he goes full the mask, for lack of a better term, and his eyes pop out of his head and all this other nonsense. And the most you get out of Terry and Wanda is a little kind of like, that was weird. His head then explodes, and he recreates it as a balloon in his hand.
Yeah.
Again, you don't get more than a raised fucking eyebrow. Nobody like, what the fuck is going on? None of that. And after they go to hell and they have that horrendous showdown and they all end up back in the living room again before the violator comes back. They all just sit there like they've had a couple of beers. No questions. No, like, that was fucking crazy, wasn't it? No, it's just fine. They're just having a chat on the sofa. No big deal.
The kid rocks up with Spaz, and I'm sorry.
No questions.
No questions as well about how this dog is immortal. Because I don't know what you know about dogs, but after 5 years, he's going to have aged.
Yeah, apparently.
But Spaz is the same. So this dog's fucking immortal as well. And fuck this film for making me think of Mercury Rising because of that kid. You know?
of all the movies, Mercury
it's
Rising.
the kid, isn't it? So he's
the kid.
He's Mummy Simon is home kid.
And it is Mercury Rising, in fairness, is a terrible movie. That should just.
I mean, he was also in New Nightmare, wasn't he?
Was Mercury Rising the one that they bizarrely made a video game based on? I'm sure there was a Mercury Rising video game for the PlayStation 1 where you're just like, you look back, you're like, wait, there was a video game based on Mercury fucking Rising? And nobody asked a question. Maybe this is a British versus American thing, and maybe some of our American listeners can let us know. Does spaz not mean spaz in America? Because when we hear spaz, that was a term we used to use when we were younger in less PC times for somebody who was incredibly disabled, and you just be, stop being such a fucking spaz. It was basically it was the British version of retard. It was like, don't be a fucking retard, don't be a spaz, you're a spaz, blah blah blah. We used to just fucking carpet bomb it through all of our senses when it was like you were basically burning your friends. I have to assume it doesn't. I know it's named after one of the visual effects supervisors, Steve Spaz Williams. But over here, somebody you think would have put their hand up and gone, listen, guys, I mean, to can't go calling the dog fucking retard.
If your nickname is Spaz, it's not because you did anything smart over here.
No, I'm sorry. It's certainly not. Yeah. So, I'll be interested to know if it means the same thing in America. But given the fact that we have a couple of them, was it? Yeah. Fanny pack means something completely different to us. Well, because we work in a different place. It's just, fanny is a bum in America, isn't it? Whereas fanny is a lady's bits over here. And
but we don't call her a fanny pack at all. We call her a bum bag.
A bum bag, Fag is the most obvious one.
Yes,
It's a cigarette rather than a homosexual or a homosexual slur, as it were. But anywho. So this film is...
but fuck this film for making me think of Mercury Rising.
Good point. It's worth bringing that up again. As I said, it is easy to kind of rag on this film, but the stuff with John Leguizamo is legitimately, he tiptoes right to the edge of this is a bit much, but he looks fantastic in the costume. It genuinely looks amazing.
It must have been fucking murder on his knees and his back.
Well, he said, supposedly being in the suit, where I think he referred to it as being stuck in a condom all day, which sounds
like a dick in a condom. But not just so much that, but he's not tall, but he's taller than the clown. He had to crouch for the entire filming.
Yeah,
And
it's
I'm
got
sorry,
to
I
be
can't
love.
crouch for 30 seconds without my 40-year-old body giving in on me.
It was almost his aesthetic was almost most impactful when it was because most of the film, as you'd expect for this, they're going for that goth, the Crow, the Batman look. It was almost more impactful when you saw him in just broad daylight at the daughter's birthday party.
Yeah.
And
And
like
he was dressed
Spawn
as a
comes over and
proper
he's like,
clown. Yeah.
bad crispy, clown not like. It's like such a weird sequence. But seeing him in broad daylight immediately makes you think of It and Pennywise.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, he's creepy as fuck in this film, despite, going with all the bobs. But I know we have a slight disagreement on this. I think those two sequences when he turns into the Violator and fights Spawn, I was just like, this stuff's pretty good. I actually
Oh, no,
thought it
no.
was pretty ace.
I like those sequences when he
Oh,
turns
sorry, I
into
do
Violet.
apologize.
No, I think they're good. That is a great fight scene,
Mhm.
and it's done pretty well. But what I'm saying is, if it was more practical, I think I would have liked it more. When you
Yeah,
compare the
no, I
CG to
agree.
it,
Yeah, I
you said about Violator or John
agree.
Leguizamo. I have to ask, and I don't know if you wrote this down, but what's his best line? Because he has a couple of doozies.
He does. I mean, the ones I wrote down were the bad crispy, clown not
Yeah,
like. Well, if it isn't curious crispy, I thought that was another pretty
yeah.
funny line, but I'm sure you've got better ones written down.
I only had one because it made me laugh, and I just gave up after that. Every time you pass gas, an angel gets his wings. Then he does a fart, and he goes, "Ooh, twins."
Yeah, that's the thing because
Yeah.
he really goes for it. Some of it comes across as just crass and a bit lame, but some of them do land. I mean, there's enough of it, but it's a shame almost that his character is left to be a little bit one note because there is a hint at a bit of depth there. So after he's randomly dressed like a cheerleader, he suddenly gets dragged into hell, and there's this kind of insinuation that he's on his kind of last warning with the devil. Like this has to work, otherwise he's going to catch it in the neck. And the other thing is that he's actually jealous of Spawn because he feels like he should be the leader of Hell's Army,
Within the
which
army, yeah.
sounds like it'd be a little bit more straightforward, but whatever. But again,
So
like everything else in this film, it's kind of hinting at something interesting, but nothing interesting comes of it, sadly.
it's another thing as well with the hint as well. And I know you can't do a lot with this film, and you're hoping for the sequels to bring it up and maybe delve more into the hell side
Elaborate
of
on
it.
the
Yeah,
story and yeah.
your quote at the beginning of this episode, I'm not the vindicator, the victimizer, the vaporizer, or the vibrator.
Mhm.
The reason why he says that is because he is he's one of five brothers. They're called the Fleabig brothers, right? They're denizens of hell, but they're violator, vandalizer, vaporizer, vindicator, and facilitator. So I'm
It's
guessing he just
it,
take.
it sounds
I'm
like the
guess
dodgeball team from
Yeah,
Dodgeball.
yeah. So I'm guessing he's taking the piss out of his brothers by going
Yeah.
vibrate. None of that gets explained. So you're just thinking, why is he saying like? And you could just, without even knowing, you could just think, oh, because obviously he's just saying words with V before he goes, I'm the violator.
Yeah.
But if you've read the comic, you're thinking, okay, is he just taking the piss out of his other four brothers? Like,
Yeah, it does make more sense. It's a kind of cool line. It's just a build up to his transformation sequence. But yeah, I did think it was kind of nonsensical, despite the fact that I used it as the opening quote. Again,
yeah,
big part of it's just John Leguizamo's delivery. But it's one of those things. It's like, sure, it works as like a nod to the comic books, and fans of the comic book will get it, and they're like, oh, cool, it's like a little Easter egg. And you can get away with a few of those, but there's just far too much in this movie where I'm not sure if it just assumes knowledge of the character. And let's be clear, for all the popularity, as I said, of his aesthetic, he was still pretty niche in terms of world building. It's like,
yeah,
Spider-Man, the Hulk, despite the fact that they still inexplicably explain their backstories in his movies, Batman and stuff. It's like everybody knows Batman's backstory. Everyone knows Spider-Man. Everyone knows, or at least most people know who Spawn is, but not many people know the Spawn story, for instance. They just
no,
know him as an aesthetic. Almost in the same way I think of someone like bizarrely as someone like Betty Boo or Betty Boop, is it, or something? Like, nobody knows shit about Betty Boop, but if you show the image, everyone kind of knows that,
I mean,
the level of iconography.
nine times out of ten, somebody will go boo 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 doo boop.
Exactly. But they
Yeah,
don't, nobody's like, oh, nobody knows about Betty Boop's tragic backstory where the parents were killed in Crime Alley or any of that
yeah,
nonsense. And I think Spawn kind of fits into that category where he's aesthetically so memorable, but I don't think he's kind of passed over into mainstream knowledge where everyone's like, oh yeah, I know the Vindicator and I know what happens to Al. Like, I don't think most people could say, oh, the Spawn is Al Simmons, whereas everyone knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Blah blah
Oh,
blah.
absolutely. You said about death as well, and interesting with this film because I don't know what it was when it came out. I know it's a 12 now,
Hmm.
and the character of Spawn coming from hell because he's one of the greatest killers. He's got to lead the army. Blah blah blah. Yada yada yada. This film, what's the body count? This surprised me.
Body count.
We're not
Well,
talking about the millions that they suggest when they set off Heat 16 and the actual body count of people
and
dying on screen.
are we counting the demons which get killed? You know, when all of a sudden he has all the
When he does
powers,
his Yoda laser eye things. No, 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 we're
well,
not
yeah,
counting
at
them.
the end, it
Yeah.
all gets a little bit ropey where it's like all of a sudden he's got Yoda laser eyes. That's a thing,
So
apparently. And he can do like a magic, what would you even call it? Surgery when he takes out the bomb. It's like, oh, you can just do fucking everything now, apparently.
we won't count CGI deaths in this
Okay.
end. Okay.
All right. Well, there's got to be like 10 at the start when he blows up the plane because
Yeah.
it looks like a lot of people die then. I don't think there's that many after that, though.
So apparently it's
10?
six
Oh,
according to
six.
this.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can't remember. I thought it was six alone in the air traffic control tower.
That's
Let
what.
alone,
But that now
yeah,
I'm thinking, is that the only ones? Well, there's
yeah.
because Wynn doesn't die. Terry, the Violator doesn't die.
Al comes back to life. So is he dead?
Yeah, I mean they do kind of make the point numerous times, like Al, you're dead. Which, again, it's like that scene where the Violator is making Al dig up his own body. It should be like really dramatic, that sequence.
Yeah.
But instead they cut away to a bunch of like devil worshippers, which you used to have an issue with because let's be clear, devil worshippers just aren't on screen as much as they used to be. It was almost like a pleasant throwback.
Yeah.
But they don't do anything. They don't even. I thought maybe they'd serve as like, Spawn would lose his shit or the Violator would make an example of him and they all get killed. They just run off. So they cut away from that potentially impactful emotional moment to just go, oh, here's a bunch of devil worshippers and just didn't do anything with it again. And it's just one of the many, many infuriating aspects of this film.
Until this watch, I've never noticed the shovel before.
Oh, with the face on it.
With the face on it, but also the handle was just a femur or something. It was human bones.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Yeah, I just remember the weird looking face, which was
No. I've noticed the face on it, but I'm on about the
Mhm.
handle was like the whole shaft of the shovel was
Well,
with
that
a
whole
bone.
sequence should have been more impactful, and it just wasn't, sadly. But I could be speaking almost about any scene in the movie. Like when I think of this film, I'm not sure if it's the same for you. When I think about like an impactful, memorable sequence, I immediately think of the ballroom sequence when he comes down from the ceiling and he's got the cape and everything. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then upon rewatching it, that scene, slightly dodgy CGI aside, when he comes down from the roof and the cape is all there, I'm like, all right, that still looks pretty badass. But then the actual action sequence that follows it is pretty pony, actually. I was like, oh, this isn't nearly as awesome as I remember.
Yeah.
But again, the same could be true of most sequences.
Yeah, it just and you've mentioned it once or twice already, but the pacing, like he's just gone from one thing to the other. The whole, as you've already said, I'm just reiterating what you've said in regards to Clown could have had enough time to get to them anyway, but he stopped to pick up a weird truck. The break in to the armory was really, and then Spawn managed to bring it back to Crime Alley, but get to the banquet, which the banquet looks dead of night, by the way.
Yeah,
But in the dead of night, Wanda is giving a speech about all the people that have caught diseases in a weird college thing, whilst her 5-year-old kid is allowed to play because she's being looked after by Spaz the dog.
Yeah, what is even her job? Like Wanda's poorly explained. It's if we bring it back to, even if we kind of let that slide, I actually think one of the biggest issues of this movie is that Spawn himself, Al Simmons, is so incredibly one note. Like Michael J. White, who is, I do like Michael J. White. He's not great in this movie, but I don't think it's his fault. And this is going to seem really mean, maybe just because we're talking about two tall kings on this podcast. I don't think he's tall enough. I think he looks too stodgy in the suit. I think Spawn should look a bit taller. But that aside, I think his character is incredibly one note. I don't really feel like he goes on a movie. They try and again, hint at something with, is the kid's name not Max, is it?
Yeah, Max.
Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. Yeah, Max. What the hell's the kid's name?
Yeah, it wasn't Spike, was it? What was his name?
No,
I
it
had
was
Spike in my head for
Zach.
some reason.
Zach.
Zach, yeah.
You think, oh, the Zach element's going to kind of humanize him, but that doesn't really go anywhere. And it's a shame because I think there is a good actor in Michael J. White, and he's always like just on the edge. It's kind of like he's like the black Frank Grillo to a certain extent. And Frank Grillo has finally had his opportunity with stuff like
Yeah.
Peacemaker and all these, where you're just like, oh, you know what I mean with Frank Grillo. Like he's in a bunch of what I refer to as like kind of upper end straight to VHS stuff. You know, when you look at Michael J. White stuff and it's straight to DVD, straight to K, whatever you want to call it, and you think of like Blood and Bone,
Oh, I
Never
love
Back
Blood and
Down,
Bone.
Undisputed, they're not quite cinema caliber movies, but they're not kind of like, you know, budget bin stuff. There's
Yeah.
stuff to
No,
hold
yeah,
on to,
yeah.
and he's good in them. And I just think, oh, if this had worked out, he would have been given the opportunity. And if you have any doubt as to how good he can be beyond your kind of like upper echelon B movie stuff, for the love of God, go and watch Black Dynamite. He is so fucking good in that film is like one of the most pleasant cinematic surprises I've had of the last 20 years. I didn't know much about it. One of my friends went, no, dude, Black Dynamite is the business. And he's like, Michael J. White's in it. I was like, Spawn guy? I was like, all right, give it a go. It's so brilliantly funny,
Yeah.
amazingly written. He has got unbelievable comedy chops in that film. And you're just like, the dialogue that he's given in this film, like the bits
He's
which there are one or two moments of intended levity coming from Spawn, and they fall completely flat.
So he's a writer of that as well. But
Mhm.
I'll give you a double feature because yes, Black Dynamite, but also then I think it's the outlaw Johnny Black.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I
Does
know the
it,
one. Yeah,
he's
yeah.
good in that one, and I think he might have directed that one. I could be wrong. No, he did
It's not
direct it. Yeah, yeah.
quite as good as Black
No,
Dynamite.
no, it's not as good as Black Dynamite, but to see his acting prowess a bit more because I
If you
tell
want
you
to
a
see him at
good
his
film.
best, I actually think a double feature. If you're not kind of particularly familiar in Michael J. White, it would be fair to say to see the best of him. I would say watch Black Dynamite and Undisputed.
Oh, I'd argue Undisputed 2 because he's not an Undisputed 1.
Oh,
But
sorry, Undisputed 2. I do
yeah,
apologize. That's what I
no,
meant. Sorry.
I give you that Undisputed 2. But I would say the Tyson film he was in, like one of his first films, he played Tyson in like a straight
Oh,
to
really?
TV movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he was really, I mean, you could go back to where he played an apocalypse executive in the Toxic Avenger 2. But
I think that's fine. Yeah.
or he played soldier in Universal Soldier. But no, he was good in the Oh, he
Mhm.
was an audience man. I'm just looking at his IMDb now. He was audience man in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. But no,
Well,
he played
sorry.
Tyson in '95, and then I think Tyson was what got him the role of Spawn because he did things in between, but not a
Yeah,
lot.
I
Yeah,
just think, like I said, like Frank Grillo, people like him, or who's the other one you really like who was in John Wick 4? He's like a
Scott
martial artist.
Adkins.
Scott
Scott
Adkins.
Adkins. Yeah,
Similar kind of vibe in that kind of upper echelon of B movie stars, hasn't
yeah,
quite broke out. You know, your average person, you could walk through Edinburgh, most people wouldn't know who Scott Adkins is. Frank Grillo, again, is just tipping over now because of the stuff in the DCEU.
yeah,
And I just feel like Michael J. White is like deserving, and I'm not talking about him suddenly headlining a major motion picture, but something like that where he gets a bit part and gets his opportunity to shine
yeah.
because
I
he
agree.
still looks great. He's fucking yoked, and he's proven at both ends of the
And
spectrum that he can do the action. And if given the right script, he's got the comedy chops as
yeah,
well. I think he'd be great.
he's quick as fuck. I sorry, you've mentioned him a couple of times. I've got to give him his props. Frank Grillo, again, one of my favorite actors before Superman and all that. I've always been a fan of him since he played Nick in Prison Break in 2005. That's as
That's
far
gone
back as
back,
I
yeah,
go to.
fair play.
Yeah, but I've got to fucking shout out Boss Level. If nobody has seen Boss Level,
I did quite
it's
like Boss Level. Yeah.
oh my god. It's basically was it Groundhog Day on drugs. It
With
is
Mel Gibson, yeah?
with Mel Gibson,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's video game. Well, it's called Boss Level.
Do you
It
know
is
what?
just
Right? Do
video
you know what
game
it is?
mechanics.
Right. If you think it, if you know, if you're not aware of that film, you may remember a film called, I think it was called Gamer with Jared
Yeah.
Butler in it.
And
It's like
randomly Michael C. Hall, is it?
it's like imagine that film, but good.
But good.
It's like a
Yeah.
it's a good version of that film.
Yeah.
It's like where's
Yeah.
that? Game is fine. I went to see it in the cinema. It's got, you know, I'm a big fan of Jared Butler's like the king of the kind of upper echelon B movies.
Yeah.
He's the one who's like tiptoed into like, you know, the mainstream and gone back and forth and stuff like that. But Gamer is like absolutely okay, whereas Boss Level is genuine. It's not quite in the same league as say something like Edge of Tomorrow, but it's one of those movies where we've talked about like up until recently, there weren't any good, genuine like video game movies in terms of movies based on video game properties. For instance, there's been a few recently which have been okay, but all the best ones are basically video game movies which aren't based on actual video games.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
again, Edge of Tomorrow is fundamentally just a video game in a movie form, and the same is true of Boss Level.
So this is not,
Totally worth watching.
and this is not me trying to pick a fight. This is not me
I know you're
going
going to
on
say you
about,
prefer it.
yeah,
It's fine.
yeah, no, and this is not me like saying, "Oh, Tom
I
Cruise,
know.
fuck you," no, anything like that. Boss Level is more my film than Edge of
Yeah,
Tomorrow
yeah,
would ever be, and
that's
I
fine.
think Boss Level is great.
See,
Yeah,
now I feel like I need to double down. It's like, but seriously, if you haven't seen Edge of Tomorrow, and this is, I'm not shitting on, like, I'm at the opposite side of that because I really like Boss Level. I think Edge of Tomorrow is a demonstrably better film, but I also think Edge of Tomorrow is one of the great modern blockbusters, and you should watch it. But yeah, go and watch both. Go and watch
if you're
both.
having a if you're having a Jai White double feature next day, have a bloody video game esque repeat Dave.
Yeah,
Fucking
a video game, but not based on a video game movie series. What go out and watch Boss Level? I mean, we should get back to Spawn at some point, shouldn't we? But I think it speaks to the quality of the film that we've gone off on so many tangents. And then the thing is, if I go back to the film, I'm naturally now going to go towards the end of the film, and this is where it really falls apart. I mentioned the fact that nobody reacts to anything that seems to be happening. But in terms of a final showdown, this is one of the worst in movie history, as far as I'm concerned. Like we already kind of briefly mentioned the eye zapping all the monsters. He has a showdown with the devil. It just looks terrible. The escape from hell, all of a sudden now Spawn can fly, sure, whatever. It's slightly saved once again when the Violator comes back through the wall and they have a showdown and he does the whole, because again, physical effects. He has that kind of head spike thing and like tears his head off. You're like, that looks awesome. Why did you feel the need to have the hell stuff when this looks so cool? But yeah, I just thought Cogliostro, you just knew he was going to be lame. He's not quite at the same level. Do you remember Scatman Crothers in The Shining, where he like travels? It feels like planes, trains, and automobiles. It feels like he travels countries to finally get to the Overlook Hotel, only to get immediately an axe in the back. Like he literally doesn't even get a word out. He's just dead. I was like, what the fuck was the point of all that? It's kind of like that, but without any of the charm.
I'm tangenting it again because you mentioned him. His character is in the new It Welcome to Derry TV show as a younger Scatman Crothers.
Well, because he was in thing as well, wasn't he? I mean, it made more sense in the Shining follow-up.
Yeah.
Am I making that up? Yeah.
No, he was in Doctor Sleep as a was he a voice or like an apparition or something? He was something along those lines, yeah. But no, the actual character, like when he was younger, apparently lived in Derry for a while.
I see.
Yeah,
I hope that's good. And let's be clear,
good.
Stephen King, I mean, don't get me wrong, Stephen King's doing just fine. But I keep hearing about how his recent films haven't done great at the box office. And it's odd because the one that did really good business for 2025, because I think there have been 3 movies released in the cinema based on Stephen King properties. The
2
worst
so far,
of the bunch. There was The Monkey at the start of the year.
Of course it was. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, you're
which
right.
I thought was okay. I didn't think it was great. That was actually a really big hit. Big hit. It made loads of money. And then we've had The Secret Life of Chuck, which completely bombed and just disappears. By the way, don't bother watching the film. Just read the book.
Because nobody understood that film for a start.
Well, the problem was it's such a high concept, and I was talking to my wife about this a few days ago. They didn't want to give it away. But by not giving it away, you watch the trailer and you're just like, well, what the fuck is this even about? They did a similar thing with, remember Tomorrowland with George Clooney?
Yeah.
Tomorrowland is actually a pretty decent film, but they kind of went with this whole elusive advertising campaign. But I think everyone was just like, I don't know what it's about. So nobody bothered to go and see it. And it was the same with The Secret Life of Chuck. The one that gets me is The Long Walk.
Yeah.
And I think in the long term, that film's going to do just fine. But that film deserved better because it is brilliant. If you haven't seen The Long Walk and it's done in the cinema, for the love of God, go and see it. It's legitimately, it was in the conversation for my film of the year until I went to see PTA's
One battle
latest.
after another. Yeah,
which is absolutely fantastic. It won't be everyone's cup of tea because it's very.
I love how you justified that because I'm not a PTA fan.
Yeah, I know it's not going to be for you.
I will not be going to the cinema to watch it. I'll probably catch it when it comes out.
It's a shame because it's so wonderfully cinematic and it's got one of the greatest chase sequences where very little, it's so little happens but you're watching, it's just like, this is so fucking tense and nothing's happening. It's a masterpiece. Anyway, doesn't matter. But
Kind
going
of
back
like
to,
Spawn.
we do agree on the long walk, though.
Yeah, a chase sequence kind of like Spawn, where it just came out of the blue for no reason. He's
Yeah,
on
the
a
only
bike.
difference is that one's really good. This one is just like, why
Yeah,
is there necro goo? Why is his bike all of a sudden he has bike powers? Yeah, everything about this film is slightly silly, but let's
yeah.
move on. Let's try
And
and
we
be a
need to
little
move
bit
on. Yeah,
positive.
yeah.
Actually, I was going to say favorite scene. This is what we usually move on to, but we've added a new what's the word I'm looking for? A new section, a
Section,
new
section.
section. That seemed too easy. Okay, new section. It's called Rob Take. So, Nini, with every film we watch, there's always something random which grinds, something incredibly innocuous that ends up grinding Rob's gears in particular. So we're going to add a Rob Take section where you can have your moment. So, and if I have one, I'll add one
Yeah.
myself. But
Okay.
it seems much more likely, given the name Rob Take, that it's going to be you.
I mean, I will say that we probably won't have this every week because I don't know if I pick
No,
one every week, but I definitely have one for Spawn.
go for it.
Uh, when they go to North Korea to bomb the place, it's the
Yes, to
last
bomb
job for Al
the
Simmons. Yeah,
hmm
they're in North Korea. Yeah,
yeah,
okay, definitely in North Korea.
100% North Korea.
Okay,
They say it numerous times. Yeah,
yeah. So why are all the warning signs in English?
it's a great point. It's a great fucking point. I didn't even consider that. Yeah, they definitely don't speak English in North Korea.
No.
Definitely not their first language. Pretty sure it's
Yes.
Korean.
Yeah, and you could argue the fact because it's like a lot of science things and everything like that would be in English, but
Mhm.
science, but not in North Korea. In North Korea, they're not fucking having their warning
Yeah,
signs in
no,
English
and
because
even right, even if they went, we might be more forgiven if they went Welsh, for instance. So in Wales,
yeah,
if you come to Wales, everything is in Welsh first, and then below it is in English.
yeah,
If they did that, you would let it slide. But yeah, I didn't even consider the fact that all the signs are in English. It makes no sense.
really tick me off.
That's a solid Rob
You've
take.
said North Korea about fucking 15 times, but all the signs are in English.
Yeah, no, it's set in North Korea. It makes no sense for
Yeah,
them being English. So yeah, that's a solid first Rob take section for
yeah,
sure. Which leads us into our more traditional section of favorite scene. I could say anything with John Leguizamo. As I said, I do like some of the hero shots, but again, I think they hint at the movie I'd prefer to see rather than the one that I was actually watching. But I'm going to go with that. I know there's like basically three fights with John Leguizamo as with the Violator, but what I consider to be the main fight, not the last one. In one
yeah. No,
was
the
is
actual
it
I'm the
Wonder?
violator.
Yeah. When he does
Yeah,
the speech and he turns into
yeah.
Violator, I think aesthetically, is I can see it feels like they put 80% of the budget into it. Remember when we did like Life Force, and it felt like they spunked the budget on one sequence, and then the rest
Yeah.
of the film they're just like, "Fuck, what are we gonna do?" It feels a bit like that in Spawn. They put it all into that one genuinely pretty good action sequence, and then the rest of the film's not so hot. So I'll go with that.
Pretty much written down the same thing as any scene featuring John Leguizamo was the violator, especially
Mhm.
when he shifts from the clown to the demonic beast. His energy and humor, they add a twisted levity to the film's darker tone. So
Yeah,
I'm not
totally.
gonna I'm not gonna pick. I'll go with you. Picking if we're picking one out, it's definitely when he becomes violator for the first time.
Yeah.
But yeah, any scene with him in it. I mean, he's the reason why this gives it the score that I've given it at the end of the thing.
I suspect it's going to be exactly the same for me.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we'll get to that in a moment. We'll get to that
yeah,
in a
yeah.
moment. In
That's fine.
terms of loves and hates, my three loves, unsurprisingly, one, John Leguizamo as the clown slash violator. Two, the movie occasionally gets the aesthetic right. It's usually when the cape is involved, and you get the church and it feels more gothic, and then suddenly it just starts feeling a little bit late 90s again. And it goes off the rails. So even when I'm saying the things I love, I'm ragging on this film. And three, Spawn's powers are pretty cool if somewhat underutilized, but that will
Yeah.
happen when your training sequence is 70 minutes into a 95-minute movie.
For me as well, John Leguizamo is the violator. I said is the whole grotesqueness of him. He's manic as fuck. He's not sitting still. It's like ADHD was a power, and he's got it.
Yeah,
It's
and I have to
insane.
believe that a lot of his dialogue was off the cuff because, as we mentioned,
Yeah,
so much of the dialogue in this film is just rough, but his stuff feels much more organic to me.
yeah.
But who knows?
Uh, and I know we've ragged on the CGI, and I will rag on it in hates, but I've kind of said the visual style and the effects.
Mhm.
Like Spawn's armor, the cape, the transformation, it all gives it that comic book
Yeah,
esqueness that
the
you like
the
from.
mask going
Yeah,
on looks
yeah,
cool.
absolutely. And it like if you look at the 90s superhero landscape, which is what we've been doing for the past 4 weeks,
Yeah,
this does stand out. That the visual effects of it stands out compared to the purple spandex compared to the bandana and fake nose
Well, it was so
compared.
much more modern, wasn't it? Because, like you
Yeah,
say, if you look at the films we've done, The Phantom, The Shadow, they're all looking backwards at his like 30s style character. This stands out as being something so uniquely 90s, as in, the character was created in the 90s. This film is in the 90s. It felt modern. Now, of course, it just feels incredibly 90s in that way that
yeah,
I guess Spawn was. But I agree with you because, I mean, in my own lives, like I said, the movie occasionally gets the aesthetic right. This film, when I was thinking about it, because I always remember the hell sequence, like, oh, the CGI for this film's terrible. This film doesn't look good. And you go back and watch, you go, no, this film does occasionally look pretty good. It's just
yeah.
when it doesn't look good, it looks fucking horrendous, which leads me to my hates. And number one with a bullet is just hell. Oh, sorry, I do
Yeah, no,
apologize.
it's okay.
My
My third one was the anti-hero vibe, the moral complexity. So, I mean, he isn't your typical clean-cut hero. Has he's got a really dark past, and but he gets to come back and do it all because he was betrayed. But he was going to hell anyway because he's a bad man. Even though he thinks he's doing it for good, he's still killing people for. So he is the definition of anti-hero, I would believe, for him. So I think
He
he's
is.
yeah,
It's just a shame that because I don't think we kind of gave much of a notice to the fact that this was the first black superhero on screen, certainly to my knowledge at least. And
oh
you just
no,
like,
Meteor Man from 1993.
oh, I apologize, Meteor Man,
Yeah.
of course. Well, mainstream one, let's just put it that way. And this film should have been what Blade was just a year later. You
Yeah.
think Blade has been like the ultimate anti-hero, so fucking cool, this amazing black superhero. And it's just like Spawn should have been cool in the way that Blade was cool. If it had better writing, better action, better soundtrack. And it's like, why is it that Blade has aged so wonderfully, despite the fact that it was released just a year later? And this film, in so many respects, just feels like it's stuck in 1997. There are elements of Blade, one or two bits where you're like, all right, that's a film from 98. But you can go back and watch Blade and watch it without any sense of irony or,
Yeah.
kind of
Oh yeah,
eye
yeah.
rolling or any other nonsense. But, Spawn feels like it's stuck in the time. And it is interesting, and we can say this of so many movies that we've covered. You can go back to like certain 90s films in particular. You think of like Terminator 2 or Con Air or something like that. And you're like, if you're watching that in 4K and nobody tells you, unless you get like funny about, oh, where's the mobile phones? These movies look like they could have been shot or filmed yesterday. There's nothing
Yeah.
which is so exclusive. There might be one or two things, but for the most part, you're like, that could be anytime. That could be now. It could have been 10 years ago. Whereas films like Spawn, and it's right from what you mentioned at the top of the podcast, the credits. As soon as the credits start, you go, oh, it's 1997. It's 1997
Yeah,
with
yeah,
a
yeah.
bullet, for sure. Sorry.
We
enough of-
we should do Meteor Man.
No, we shouldn't. We
Yeah, we
absolutely
should.
should
Have
not.
you seen it? Have you seen it?
A long, long time ago.
It is insane. The Golden Lords with the bad gang. It's a PG film, but the bad gang all have to dye their hair. I'm pretty sure,
I
I think
remember not liking it when I was like 15.
like
I'm
it's right.
not
Like,
going to like it now.
Eddie Griffin's in there. Cypress Hill is in there. Don Cheadle is in it.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
some interesting casting going on. Out of
James Earl
interest,
Jones, I
what
think, is in
that
it
rocking?
with and Bill Cosby's in it.
Well, he wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't know if he was always a rapist, but we didn't always think of him as such.
No, yeah.
Meteor Man. Let's see if I'm because maybe I'm just on the wrong side of history here.
No, you remember this.
5 point. No,
Yeah.
I even hate the suit and everything. No, I hated
Yeah.
the poster. I was looking at. Do you know what it reminds me of immediately? The poster, Pluto Nash. Another
yeah,
movie
yeah.
we will. And
So-
this isn't a race. All of a sudden, I'm just picking movies with black people that I don't like. Just be clear. And we're ragging on Spawn. Fuck. Remember what I said about Blade, though? Nice stuff about Blade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I-
Make no mistake. Meteor Man and Pluto Nash are bad films, though.
Can I tell you why I have a fondness for Meteor Man? I haven't seen it for a while.
Please explain.
This is going very Cardiff. But do you remember when A&E used to be in the Royal Infirmary
Yes.
before it moved to Heath Hospital?
How the fuck are you going to get from here to Meteor Man? I'll have no idea, but go for it.
Well, do you remember I've said that we had my brother and I had
Brick walls and all that other crazy stuff.
childhood of brick. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I visited that hospital quite a lot,
Mhm,
that
mhm.
A&E. Okay, so I visited it a lot. I had for stitches, x-rays, plaster,
Mhm.
casts, things like that. And for the 7 or 8 years that I remember going to that hospital, they had a poster of Meteor Man in the kids' waiting room. And I always saw that
Of
poster.
course they did.
And I always imagined what that film would be because it's a superhero. It's a guy wearing a
Yeah,
cape.
yeah,
I was,
yeah.
yeah. So when I finally had a chance to watch it, like,
Quite different.
yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
enjoyed
yeah.
it. No, I enjoyed it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You've got a soft spot for Meteor
And
Man.
I
I'm sure some people
probably
do.
could lend you the DVD.
Fantastic. You have to find out now.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be
I'm gonna
surprised. How
have
many
a.
fucking DVDs have you got? It must be a
Oh,
couple
there's a
each.
few, mate. There's a few.
I have no doubts.
Yeah.
What are we on? Hates. Quickly, I
Fucking hell,
mentioned
we're only on hates.
Hell, yeah, it looks terrible. The script, in particular, dialogue is often appalling. And number three, a waste of Martin Sheen, who is clownishly evil. I know he's swinging for the fences. I do think you could have done better work with Martin Sheen in this film.
Yeah.
He kind of drags it off the ground just by being Martin Sheen. But there's also the expectations, like if you've got Martin Sheen, how about we give him slightly better material than this? So those are my three hates.
For me, weak plot and pacing. The story is just muddled. It's too much exposition, not enough emotional depth. It's trying to cram in everything: the origin, the betrayal, the hellish deals, a redemption arc. It's 90 minutes long. Like, give us some room to fucking breathe. Number two, the over reliance on CGI. It's ambitious for its time, yes, but the CGI, especially in Hell, they've aged poorly. I mean, I don't think the Hell stuff had a good start to begin with.
No,
The
no,
rest
it
of I
looks
think,
it's
is aged
no,
well.
make no mistake.
Yeah.
This isn't one of those like, oh, you go back and suddenly it's like, you think of something like if you watch Tron in 1982, you're probably like, fuck, this is cutting edge stuff. And then you go watch it like 20, 30 years later, like, oh my God, this is aged rough. We all knew in 1997 that the Hell stuff looked bad. It's aged even worse than I imagined, though.
Yeah. Number three, the underdeveloped characters. So aside from Spawn and Violator, the others just felt one-dimensional or underused. I mean, the emotional stakes between Al Simmons and his wife don't land.
No,
Like, it's just, yeah, it just makes it less compelling, this entire film, because
it does. They needed a scene with him and Wanda, something with him and Wanda to kind of establish that they have some kind of important relationship. It just doesn't exist in the film.
You get the flashback. Sorry, I was away from the mic for a bit then. You get the flashback where they give her she gives him the locket or wherever it is. There's nothing in the scene, like in there. And she comes out of the car and says, "Oh, he's inside, Terry. Tell him to be back for dinner tomorrow." Then he dies and he gets blown up in the English-speaking North Korean building.
Military-based thing.
Yeah, and then comes back and it's like, I fucking forget about him. I don't see his face anymore in my daughter. Like, no.
Yeah, she's like shagging Terry. Like, she's just as guilty as Terry is. Like, she's fucking his best friend as well. Which, sorry, that has reminded me. I have one more hate, and I can't believe I forgot to bring it up until now. Screen wipes. Oh my
God.
days.
Yes. No.
There are so many screen wipes, and they keep getting more and more imaginative and more. This is the only way to describe
The whole
it.
when it burns,
1997.
the whole when it burns from the, like I've already said, a lot of this looks like it was done on PowerPoint. When we used it in college or whatever, or like we used to give PowerPoint presentations, you would try and do the weirdest screen wipe to the next slide.
That's what it feels like. It's and as the movie goes on, and it's something to do with like dodgy editing. The screen wipes are brought in almost to kind of add a sense of like jeopardy or urgency to the film. So there's a sequence towards the end when all of a sudden it goes from Cogliostro to Spawn to someone else, and nothing really happens, and they just keep adding these really dramatic screen wipes, and like it feels like you get 6 of them in the space of like a minute and a half.
It's jarring as fuck.
Jarring, and it looks terrible. It's a stylistic choice which should very much be left in the past. Terrible stuff. Any alternative titles for this film other than just Spawn?
So I always forget this is on a different section to where my notes are. I always forget to load it up after we
Quite
talk.
Right.
Yeah, no, not particularly. So Brazil, Spawn, The Soldier of Hell. I'm guessing this might have been a double feature because Finland is Dark City and Spawn.
That's Dark City is another movie, right?
Yeah. So
I guess the movie.
I guess,
but then you could also, if someone was getting a bit imaginative, the movie, the city in this movie is pretty dark for the most part. I don't know.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Greece, Dark Avenger.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
I'm assuming Clown, named the hungry one. Spawn, the Fry.
yeah. That's bizarre.
Yeah. Portugal, the Dark Punisher. Romania, the Weapon of Justice. Taiwan, Shining Spirit General.
Okay, that one wins. Shining Spirit General, for sure.
And Vietnam, the one who sells souls to hell.
Oh, it's pretty good as well. No. Yeah. I'm going to stick with that one.
Shining Spirit General.
Yeah, it was pretty dope. Any
Yeah.
facts of this film?
Yeah, I won't go into too many because I've actually covered quite a few
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
Michael J. White was actually set on fire for one scene, I guess. Okay.
Well, fair enough. Well, I guess
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because before they cut, there's the slightly dodgy sequence where they do like the close up of him just before it explodes, and you can see his face has been superimposed over the guy on fire. But before that, his arm is on fire and is clearly Michael J. White. So yeah,
Yeah.
there is at least a brief period where he is on fire on screen.
This is Nicole Williamson's final acting role, Cogliostro.
Poglasher, yeah, yeah, he died after this.
Yeah.
Didn't
Well, this is I might have to call a bit of I can't even think of the word now. I take this with a pinch of salt. Let's just say
he?
that scrutiny is what I want to say. Michael J. White is not a fan of the film. There is
Mhm.
no footage of me ever saying that I like Spawn. I have never said that I thought that was a good movie. And
Mhm.
then it goes to say, in 2011, Michael J. White has expressed interest in returning as Al Simmons and Spawn in a future movie, and he's supported Todd McFarlane's pursuit towards a new Spawn film. Now, I'm guessing he liked the character but hated the film, maybe?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fair enough. Like
Yeah.
you can have an interest in where you could go with it, especially if Todd McFarlane gets like full creative control. And he's like, there's a good movie in there, but he just doesn't like this version, which I think it would be true of myself as well. It's like if you ask me, and we'll get to it in a minute, Hug to the Future. It's like, do you want to see a sequel? Yeah, I'd love to see another Spawn movie. I just don't want to see another Spawn movie quite like this one, basically.
Yeah.
Just give me a different director, basically. That sounds horrible, but it's true.
No, I get it. Uh, this is the second time a feature film had a Black American as the lead comic book superhero. The first being
Damn it.
Meteor Man,
I
respectfully, but
fucked
for the
shit the bed on that one, didn't I?
yeah, yeah, the first being Meteor Man in
Well,
1993.
just be clear, I have absolutely forgiven myself for forgetting Meteor Man. Absolutely forgiven myself.
194 people liked that fact, so there you go.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Tim Burton was originally going to direct this.
Oh, yeah, it would have been much better.
Oh, not sorry, they wanted him to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Alex Proyas as well, pro fame. I was
Yeah,
going
again,
to
another
direct it,
obvious choice. Yeah.
but he pulled out to work on Dark City.
Fair
I
enough.
believe that was a good choice because I
Mhm.
fucking love Dark City. I'm sorry, I loved Dark City. Haven't seen it for a
We
while.
should do that for the podcast because I've never seen Dark City. So there you
Yeah,
go.
and I'll just end it at the two cops that took uh, Martin Sheen out at the end of the film.
Mhm.
Characters called Sam and Twitch. Sam and Twitch are cops in the Spawn universe.
Okay.
They do a lot of the investigation, and
Mhm,
like
mhm, mhm.
Spawn leads them to actually just solve cases.
Yeah.
They were actually going to be their own character in a couple of things. So Jeremy Renner was going to play one of them. I think
Mhm.
Sam in a film, uh, a new Spawn film that was coming out but never happened. And Kevin Smith was actually going to write, direct, and produce a Sam and Twitch police procedural for BBC America. But then
That'd be cool.
it got pulled out from under him, so it never happened. But
I quite like the idea
uh,
that exists in like the
yeah,
Spawn universe, but you don't really see Spawn. That would
yeah, it was
potentially
going to
work,
be
I
like
guess.
you'd have Sam and Twitch as the front characters, and Spawn would be a
Kind of
backup
like
character.
Gotham. Yeah,
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 pretty
Gotham
much,
TV
yeah.
show. Any more for any
No,
more?
we'll end there, damn it.
Cool, cool, cool. Well, that leads us back to Hugs the Future. So remake, sequel, Let It Die, Leave Well Alone. I mean, there's been that kind of long gestating remake with Jamie Foxx. He's been attached for donkey's years, and
Yeah,
obviously Todd McFarlane's not giving up the ghost. I mean, the character is cool fundamentally, but I don't think it's a good sign that they keep rewriting the script. Because if you go back to the kind of history of that, you're like, oh, it keeps getting close to getting made, and then they bring on new script writers, and it keeps getting rewritten. It's like, well, there's something obviously fundamentally wrong with it. I
yeah.
personally would still love to see another Spawn movie. Um, I'm not desperate to see one, but I think a kind of a remake. I don't want to see a sequel to this
No,
Spawn. I think you have to go back to square one because the character's still fundamentally cool. Although I still think it should be somebody a little bit taller than Jamie Foxx, dare I say.
yeah. I don't want a remake. Sorry, I don't want a sequel. I would like a remake as well. What you
Yeah.
said is factually correct. Like Blumhouse are already to make the film. Apparently, the cast and the crew are all set to go. It's just the script keeps getting rewritten, and
Yeah.
it scares the fuck out of me because that pretty much happened with The Crow, and then we got The Crow from last year.
Yeah, and
So
like
yeah,
sometimes even you think, oh, it's like, oh well, maybe if we go like we'll reduce the budget, we'll go back to basics, and you say all the right things like, oh, we'll take on a more horror tone, blah blah blah, and then you end up with the fucking what was the recent one? The one I really hated. Um, the big guy, Big Red with the hand and the fist, the devil guy who's like a superhero.
Oh, Hellboy.
Hellboy. I just couldn't think of the name. I
You
could not
know.
think of the name. The most recent Hellboy film, I
Yeah,
gave
okay.
that 10 minutes.
We were just playing charades then.
I
You're
know.
doing all this
I'm
thing on
accused of
camera.
punching
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Yeah, the most recent Hellboy movie is one of those ones.
Yeah.
If you'd heard it being described, like that sounds really cool, and then you watched it and you're like, oh no, this is
I
fucking
mean,
dog shit.
that's the problem when they lose budget, then, isn't it? Because then it becomes set in unnamed city,
Yeah.
unnamed Gothic city. That the same with again. I'll go back to The Crow, which for me was such a letdown. But that was like unnamed Gothic, meant to be an American city.
The
That's not an
remake now,
American
of course,
city.
not
Yeah, the remake. I
yeah,
will
that film
never
was
slag off the original. Oh my
no, no, no.
god,
I've got
no.
a real soft spot
Yeah,
for the original. It's not a perfect film, but I got a real soft spot for it.
yeah.
The remake, I hated. I watched 45 minutes of it, and I literally, although part of it was I hated the lead actress, I just couldn't stand her.
FKA Twigs.
Couldn't stand her.
Yeah.
Could not
Feel for
stand her.
me, my wife and I spent money. We were the only ones in the cinema that spent money because
Oh,
my
yeah,
wife
that's
and I
rough.
were the only ones there. Poor fucking Bill Skarsgård. That's why he's gone back to it. Because last year he did two films. One I enjoyed, one I didn't.
Mhm.
And I was the only one in the cinema for both of them. He did Boy Kills World,
Nobody
which
saw
I
that
thought
either.
was no, I know that's for me. I thought
Nobody
that
saw
was
it.
great. It was
Yeah,
such a
yeah.
good film. So, did you see it? I'm guessing
No,
no.
I never did see
No.
it in the end. I know. I do. I do want to. I do actually want to see that. Unlike The Crow,
Yeah.
but yeah, The Crow was just rough. Sadly.
Yeah.
Hey ho, hey ho. But that's a different issue altogether because The Crow actually had the budget. Like that film, it doesn't look terrible. It's just a bad film. Anyway, doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Sorry, I don't even know if I've apologies. I don't even know if I answered that because once again a tangent.
I
A
think you have.
remake would be good. I don't want a sequel.
Yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah.
a remake with a decent budget is what's required here.
Yeah.
In terms of making a change, I mean, there are so many things I'd like to change this movie, but fundamentally, first things first, fix the CG stuff in hell. That has to be updated. It just has to be. So that's what I'd go with.
Pretty much the same, mate. Lean into the practical effects.
Mhm.
Don't rely so much on CG. And apparently, not apparently, sorry. As I've already said, Faust, Love of the Damned. If you want to see what a hellscape kind
Mhm.
of thing or what a Spawn character could look like with practical effects, look at
See,
Faust.
I'm literally now in my head. I'm imagining if so, and someone could do it super easy. I bet people are very talented when it comes to like editing these kind of videos. Just putting Spawn in the sequence from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and
Yeah,
just have him talk to that devil, and just add some Spawn guys around the side, and I bet everything else is practical. It would just look so much better. I bet you somebody could make that in less than a day, and it would look so much better than what's in this goddamn movie.
yeah,
Unspeakably bad. In terms of video games, there was no game based directly on the movie, but there was a pretty terrible game released the same year for the PS1 based on the comic Spawn the Eternal. There was also a beat 'em up released on the SNES in 1995. A lot of people remember Spawn Armageddon for the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube in 2003, and there were a
yeah.
few other rubbish ones. There was a little played but largely brilliant arcade style action game released for Dreamcast and arcades by Capcom in 2000 called Spawn in the Demon's Hand, which I loved. I had it on the Dreamcast back in the day. I'm not sure how to hold up now. It was the closest thing to it is if you ever heard of Power Stone?
Yeah.
Power Stone. It's similar to that in terms of like a kind of arena brawler, but it had Spawn and all the different characters, and you could tell it was made by Capcom. It had that real arcade vibe, very Dreamcast. But that's one of the best Spawn games. The other things I remember Spawn from the two things are he was the unique character in Soul Calibur 3. So
Yeah.
in Soul Calibur 3, if you bought it on the PlayStation 2, you had Heihachi as the additional character from Tekken. If you bought it for the GameCube, you had Link as a playable character. And for some reason, instead of Master Chief, which would have been the obvious choice, if you had the Xbox version, which I did, you had Spawn as a playable character, which is weird, but Spawn also actually works surprisingly well in the world of Soul Calibur.
Yeah.
But to this day, I play Warzone with my friends most Friday nights, and my playable character is Spawn. So, and
Oh, there
ever
you
since
go.
I unlocked him, it's just always been Spawn. So he still plays a role in my video game life. But yeah, not many great video games, sadly. If you were going to have a Spawn game today, do you want to go first? Because I've rattled on a bit there.
Yeah, no problem. If I'm looking at like the anti-hero thing, like genetically mutated with those kind of power, the only thing that came to my mind, which I thought would be really good, remember Prototype? from
Yeah,
Radical
no,
Entertainment.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, but
So,
funnily enough, I literally saw an article on that just yesterday when they're talking about. I think they planned on remastering it.
oh, and I always remember Barry Pepper was the guy that played Alex Mercer.
Great
Uh,
chap, great chap.
but like you got the urban chaos with it as well. It's set in a gritty city, jumping from the buildings, taking out rows and rows of bad
Yeah,
guys.
the movement
Yeah,
system would totally work the same as
yeah.
well. Yeah, yeah, it's a
I
good bit
mean, you've
actually.
got you've got the power, like the what was it Alex Mercer had like the tendrils, the claws. He transformed his body. He put a fucking cape on the dude instead of the hoodie, and he's basically Spawn anyway.
No,
So
you're right there.
I would have gone with that. Is this going to be the
That's a great
first
shout.
time that we're different?
Yeah. I have disagreed, but you've gone more for the movement. I actually think your one's is a really good fit. Actually, I've gone more in terms of the combat. So maybe it's just
Okay.
because I had Capcom on my mind because that was the one game, the Spawn game I used to really like. Um, I think you could make an argument for a Devil May Cry version of the game,
Devil May Cry was my second one.
where
I would have gone
instead
Devil
of
May, yeah,
you'd have the guns, but you could use the chains to kind of like knock characters up in the
especially
air.
especially 3 or 5. I think three or
Yeah.
five would have been perfect for
No,
Spawn.
no, I absolutely agree. And
Yeah,
those are my two favorite Devil May Cry games as well. Um, I'd either go with that, or if you wanted to kind of do something with a slightly richer narrative, should we say, but still great combat, and you had a really big budget, we could get Sony Santa Monica Studio and have them give Spawn the God of War treatment.
yes,
So basically, just fighting demons instead of gods. And you think about like 2018's God of War, which I think is probably the best one. And when you had Balder keep showing up, and you have those amazing set piece fights with Balder, just have that with the Violator instead, like kind of running throughout the game where you keep running into him. So that would be my like huge mega budget. But in terms of like the right fit for his move set and the kind of character, I actually think your one is probably the correct one.
so we basically went the same thing. We said the Devil May Cry. I had God of War on my
Mhm.
thing as well from Santa Monica Studios. But yeah, I went with Prototype because of that, because of the movement,
I
because
think
of
so.
yeah.
Yeah, because that's the
Uh,
one thing you can't really sell. Like, as great as the combat might be if you did a God of War style game, or similar with, I can totally see Spawn in a Devil May Cry game.
yeah.
In terms of capturing his movement and, the cloak abilities and stuff, I actually think you need more of an open world. So I think that's probably the one we'll go with this week.
Also,
Cool. That is to best and worst of IMDb, where we pick a random 10-star and 1-star review for this film. As to how many written IMDb reviews there are for this film, there can't be that many. 147?
293.
Oh, a lot more. Double.
Yeah,
Double that
yeah.
shit. Out of those, how many are 10-star reviews? 31?
17, dude. 17.
That's a bit more like it, in
Yeah.
fairness.
So written in March 2006, titled Excellent Film. I have to say that this film was brilliant. It was a perfect starter for anyone who hasn't seen this film. Start again. I have to say that this film was brilliant. It was a perfect starter for anyone who hasn't seen this film.
Yeah, that's a
Or in
mental
that
sentence.
fact,
It's fine.
yeah, or in that fact, read the comics of Spawn. I promise anyone who's seen this film has been dying for a second film to come out. Michael Jai White and John Leguizamo played their characters brilliantly. This film shows that even in the most tortured soul, evil can prevail only so much in a man. Personally, though, having such a kick-ass bodysuit, I could think of a few more fun things to do with all those powers. If you stick to the comics of Spawn, you are dying to see much more from the first one. I'm praying that Todd will a second one and include a lot of the characters from the comics. Fucking hell, dude, grammar.
Yeah, he needs a bit more grammar in there. You picked a doozy there.
Yeah, he hasn't actually, as we've said before, I pick them at random, so I don't
Yeah.
read them beforehand. I just pick, but he hasn't even put full stops in. He's just, I have to say that this film was brilliant. Dot dot. It was a perfect starter for anyone who hasn't seen this film. Dot dot. Or in that fact, read the comics and Spawn. Dot dot. That's throughout the fucking
Well, yeah, I
review.
mean, this is from a lunatic who gave Spawn 10 stars out of 10. So, you've got
Yeah.
to accept that they might be a little bit unstable. As for 1-star reviews, there's got to be a few more, man. I'm 47.
Oh, dude, 40.
Oh, that's close. That's
Yeah.
close. That seems closer to the truth, in fairness.
Yeah. Written in April of 2003, titled Diabolical. Awful. This film tries to create hell. It certainly does that. No person deserves to sit through this. Why are we wasting time and energy sending criminals to prisons? Just threaten potential lawbreakers with watching this film, and crime will be as extinct as this film. To celebrate my birthday, I decided to go see a movie. This film helped make it the worst birthday of my life. Fucking hell, dramatic.
Ouch. Ouch, but closer to the truth, which leads us to our
Yeah,
own races recommendations. Now, I've gone back and forth on this a few times
yeah,
because I gave Judge Dredd 2 stars last week, but I did caveat that by saying it's a 2 star movie, but it's a really fun 2 star movie. Now, that was almost like it was like kind of could have been a 3 star movie, but was dragged down by like Rob Schneider, for instance.
yeah.
This film was a 1 star movie for a lot of it, but got dragged up to 2 stars by John Leguizamo as the clown. So it's 2 stars, but it's not fun in the same way that Judge Dredd was. Judge Dredd is not a great film, but I enjoyed watching it. This is a 2 star movie where I didn't enjoy it, to be honest. This is a proper 2 star film.
Yeah, yeah.
And like I said, for a long time when I was watching this, I was like, man, this is tiptoeing around being one of the rare 1 star reviews I give. As I said, the fact that Spawn is a fundamentally cool character, John Leguizamo gives a great performance. There are a handful of okay set pieces. It just about drags it into 2. If I was doing half scores, this would be a 1.5. But I'm gonna round up. I'm gonna go for 2. So 2 and just to be clear, no, I'm not recommending everyone see that. And just to be clear, if you have fond memories of this, like we did, especially you, and I
Yeah.
don't blame you. You know, if you watch this when you were 97, there were a lot of reasons to like it. Don't go back and rewatch it. It's not going to be fun. You're not going to like what you see. So 2 and a no from me.
So basically, you said the same thing, right? John Leguizamo drags this up.
Yeah.
He drags this up from a point 0.5 to a 1.5 for me.
Well, that, but
Like,
yeah,
no, that's what I'm
almost
saying. I
exactly
know
what
you
I
said you
said.
wanted, yeah. It's like I wanted to give this a 1,
Yeah,
but
I was the
I'm
same.
giving it a 1 before Leguizamo, and then oh no, actually it's a point 0.5, and then Leguizamo, oh no, okay, we'll give him an extra, so it's a 1.5, and hell to the no. Do not fucking watch this film. As you've just said, if you have fond memories of this,
Mhm.
don't do it to yourself. We said it with Dread as well. I mean, Dave last week said, I had fond memories of Dread. I wish I hadn't gone back and watched it now.
Mhm, mhm.
Same with this film. I had fond memories of Spawn. I wish I hadn't gone back and watched it. I'm glad I did
Maybe that's
because,
why I
yeah,
benefited with Dread because I knew like in my head I was just like I never thought it was a great film and some of the stuff in it actually worked better than I remembered. Still not a great film, but it was probably slightly better than I remember. Whereas this film, as you say, maybe it was just because we were the right age for it and the character was so cool at the time that I had quite fond memories. Like, oh god, I hope this is still like a half decent. And no, it's not. It's not a great film. And you know,
no,
we're being pedantic about whether it's 1.5 or 2 stars. Fundamentally, we completely agree on just about everything when it comes to this movie. It's not worth going back to. Leave it in the past. That's for damn sure.
absolutely.
All right,
100%.
so that has been 1997 Spawn and the last part of our dodgy 90s superhero flicks season of podcasts. And that is leading us straight into another season of podcasts, our annual Hugtober season, when we'll be covering 3 horror slash Halloweeny style movies over the next 3 weeks. The first one is your choice, sir. And what
Yeah.
are you going for?
So I've picked one that I've wanted to do for a while.
Mhm.
And I had a bit of a dilemma because I wouldn't see this as horror. I would see this more as that may just because I'm a bit fucked up in the mind if you ask anybody like my wife. But
Oh no, he is. Just to be clear, this one of the movies we were talking about before the podcast started, one we were potentially going to do, and we're going to like kick it down the road. We were contemplating doing Freddy versus Jason, and Rob said, "I'm not sure if I consider that a horror movie." I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" So yeah, you're I don't quite know what you put directly in the horror mode, but this is going to be interesting.
I was convinced to do this one, and I'm glad because I have been wanting to watch it for a while. That being said,
Hmm.
it's 1994,
Hmm.
and you need more.
Yes.
It's our second film in 3 weeks that has Jurgen Prochnow in it.
Oh man, Jurgen Prochnow, who can be very good, but can also be quite terrible in movies.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Well, I'll give you the director straight away. We talked about it a while. I don't know. Maybe you'll get it from this. John Carpenter directed it.
John Carpenter, he only did so many. Well, the thing is, John Carpenter started going off the rails in the 90s. Not completely. I mean, nearly all of his best stuff is from the late 70s and the 80s. It has to be Mouth of Madness, right?
It is In the Mouth of Madness.
Sorry,
Which,
In the Mouth of Madness. I do
yeah,
apologize. Which I've never seen. I've seen like nearly every Carpenter movie, but I've not seen this one for some reason.
I'm convinced this is like the third part of his like a in brackets Apocalypse trilogy, I believe.
In fairness, I do see where you're coming from though with this film and those three films in particular. They are horror films, but they're kind of horror adjacent because they're almost
Yeah,
more psychological than anything else. They're not like, the Boogeyman or anything like that. But in the same way, would you class, I don't know, fucking Silence of the Lambs? Some people would just put it in the horror section, but if you wanted to be panicky, you could be like, well, maybe it's more of a psychological thriller rather than a horror, whatever.
yeah.
I still think it's absolutely fine for the season though.
Yeah, we might have to do the middle one then, because is like Apocalypse trilogy in commas again. What was it? The Thing, Prince of
Yeah.
Darkness, and then this.
Yeah,
So
I watched Prince of Darkness quite recent actually, and it was the first time
yeah,
I'd seen it. I think I watched it a year or two ago. It's really good. It's
it
really
is
Prince of
good.
Darkness.
That's got Mr. Miyagi, isn't it? In it, isn't it? Or am I?
Yes. Wait, am I making that up? Jesus Christ!
No, I'm pretty sure he's in it, Mr.
I'm
Miyagi.
sure it has. Yeah. Sorry.
And randomly, no, Jesus Christ, terrible, terrible person I am. It's Victor Wong. It's not Mr.
I was gonna
Miyagi.
say
It's Egg Shen.
Egg Shen. Thank you. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was just like, oh yeah, sure. And like you said it with such confidence. And I
Yeah,
was just
yeah.
like, I can't quite picture him, but no, it is Victor
And
Wong.
randomly, if I remember rightly, Alex
Yeah.
Cooper is
Dennis Dunn's in there as well.
yeah, Alex
Yeah.
Cooper is like a random zombie guy.
Yeah, Alice Cooper's
I picked in the mouth of
Street
madness.
Shit Zone.
I picked in the mouth of madness, and we're talking about fucking Prince of Darkness.
But we're going to be talking about In the Mouth of Madness next week, so we can talk at least
Yeah.
a little bit about Prince of Darkness now. But Prince of Darkness is loads of fun, yeah. But I've never seen In the Mouth of Madness, which I think is that held in higher again.
Yes, it's like in the sevens, if I remember, for IMDb. I wouldn't know what the Rotten Tomatoes is.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
7.1 versus Prince of Darkness is 6.7.
6.7, yeah.
One of the biggest issues with Prince of Darkness, I remember the VHS, it didn't have a great cover. If you go and see the collector's edition now, like the 4K ones, it's got an
Yeah.
amazing poster now. But I think that's a great shout because, as I said, that's been on my list for a long time. I finally got around to watching Prince of Darkness, and for some odd reason, I just didn't then complete the trilogy by watching this, but I'll do it this week. So,
Yeah,
fine
absolutely.
choice, sir. I'm looking forward to it. Anything else, Rob, before we wrap this up?
No, mate, we've been talking for a while now, so we'll have to end it there, I think.
Okay, I've been Liam, he's been Rob, you've been listening to the Hey Guys podcast. And before I go, actually, I never ask this, but I will start asking at the end of the podcast. If you've made it this far, if you could just give us a review on Spotify or whatever the fuck you're listening to, I think it would help the podcast. We don't really give a shit, we're just doing it for fun, but it can't harm. So if you could just take you don't have to write anything, just click 5 stars. If you're thinking 4, go fuck yourself, leave it be. 5 stars is all we're interested in. But that is all for this week. Thanks for listening to 1997 Spawn, and do join us next week for the start of our Hugtober season of podcasts. Catch you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye now.
Oh, and before I forget, where can folk reach us if they were so inclined to?
Well, you can actually reach us on Hey You Guys 80s at Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. But if you want to send us a mail, do heyyouguys80s@gmail.com. Send us in your recommendations. Send us in your thoughts about any of the episodes. Just literally talk to us. We'll have a one-sided talk with you on the podcast.
Yeah. We're nice folk. Get in touch. But no, cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Hey, you guys!